Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody who has joined us on the Zoom, and for those who are also joining us on Facebook Live. We're going to get started, just letting everybody roll in, inshallah, as it's only just 10:07 p.m. So usually takes a few minutes for everybody to start rolling in. My name is Muhammad Shuaib, or sure, you can call me Shuaib, and I'm going to be one of the hosts of today's webinar, inshallah. And I'm here as the representative of Kids TV. And we're going to have shortly joining us Noor Chowdhury from Involved Fathers, where I think many of you probably came in from after seeing Noor Chowdhury sharing it around. And he's going to be taking part in this webinar as well. And at the very end, we're going to be giving a chance for yourselves to speak and to share your thoughts, give your questions in and get them answered as well. So we'll just pause for a couple of minutes just to let everybody roll in. And then inshallah we'll get started with it. Assalamu alaikum. For those of you who are joining us, we're just waiting a few minutes to let everybody roll in, and then we're going to get started with the webinar, inshallah. Okay, so just want to, before we get started, I just want to ask my admin team at the back. We've got Noor Chowdhury who's with us. So just want to make sure that he has kind of the same abilities to share his screen. And then inshallah we can get started. So my team can just make sure that they have that. So, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. We're about to get started on the webinar. So welcome everybody. Thanks for those who joined us at 7 p.m. on the dot. You've had to wait 5 minutes, but we've just started now 5 minutes later to make sure that everybody's rolled in to watch this webinar. So my name is Mohammed Shuaib, you can call me Shuaib, and I am the sales and marketing lead in the UK for Muslim Kids TV. So for those of you who may have heard about Muslim Kids TV before and didn't know that we had a team here in the UK, we do now. So you can reach out to me personally for any of your needs for Muslim Kids TV. And I'm going to be taking care of that. And today we're hosting this webinar alongside Noor Chowdhury from Involved Fathers, who is one of the people who's really been leading in this space when it comes to fathers, Muslim fathers being involved in their family and their children's life. And what we've done is that we know it's beginning of the summer holidays now for many of us here in the UK, and to be honest, across the world globally. And that means that our children are likely to be more present online. They're going to be spending a lot of their time outside of school, which means more time on their devices, more times online. And that also potentially means that there's going to be potential issues that they come across when it comes to online safety and when it comes to cybersecurity. And so we wanted to put this webinar together to make sure that parents have the right tools and they are equipped with the right knowledge to be able to deal with all of those potentially dangerous scenarios that could occur online. But we don't want to just leave you there. We also want to give you alternatives to what you can use for your children online. And when we say online, this doesn't just mean social media. This also means watching things online, whether that's watching things on various streaming channels or platforms. And there's going to be potentially things that you don't want your children to see. So what are all the alternatives and what are all the halal alternatives? That's exactly what we want to show you as well. So inshallah, we're going to get started. I'm going to introduce Brother Noor, and he's going to be taking us through a presentation for his part of this webinar, which is about this online safety. So I'm going to hand it over to him, and while he's speaking to you guys and just introducing himself, I'm going to go ahead and share his presentation up on the screen as well, inshallah. Noor, if you don't mind just taking a few minutes to introduce yourself while I get that ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, khair, inshallah. I don't know if you can see me either.
We see you too. Yes.
Okay, great, inshallah. Apologies, I've had to join on my phone for some reason. I'm struggling to log on the computer, so inshallah, it all works out either way. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خير to all of you who have joined. Apologies for my part for joining late. I mentioned just has some technical issues, as it always seems to happen. But inshallah, for myself, those who already know me or those who don't know me, my name is Noor Chowdhury. I am a parenting consultant and founder of Involved Fathers. So Involved Fathers is an organization that is focused on supporting Muslim fathers primarily. However, the work goes beyond that to Muslim parents in general, in order to upskill and empower parents to be more involved and nurturing towards their children. So the key focus is, again, about getting the upskilling and the empowerment of parents. For myself, I am someone who's the father of 6 children. I arrange boys and girls. Also, one of my children is autistic as well and has ADHD. So I have an array of personal experience alongside that of my own qualification, which is I have a diploma in child psychology, and I've got certificates in counseling and life coaching as well. And so this is my kind of brief background. There's a lot more of other bits, but I think what's relevant to today's session. And today's kind of topic that I'm specifically obviously covering is around tech safety, is what I've kind of named it as, about how to keep children safe. As Brother Shuaib mentioned, that as summer approaches now, a lot of free time, parents will naturally would be now inclined to be on how to maybe keep the children occupied. 6 weeks is a long time, for some even more, in order to keep the children engaged, and the whole needing of keeping them preoccupied and not bored. So naturally, children will be on their devices a lot more, on the screens a lot more, and there is a growing concern as to, what is it that children are watching? How can we protect our children? So inshallah, This webinar will hopefully help us to clarify some of those things, bring to light some things that you can do, inshallah, and also raise awareness about some of the harms that are out there. So it is very much a webinar that just touches on the topics. There's a lot more detail and depth that we can go into. But inshallah, I pray you all do benefit from it. So they're the kind of set objectives. Hopefully by the end, you should be able to go away knowing a bit more about some of these different apps, softwares, programs, and whatnot that do exist, and how you can keep your children safe, and also some recommendation for myself as how you can continue to keep your children safe for the long run. So if we're starting looking at technology, then it's always important that we look at the tech that we have today and see the lives of those who created that technology and how did they interact with that technology. Now, naturally, the ones who created this technology would know the benefits of it. And so our assumptions from the beginning sometimes are those who are the creators of these new technologies that do exist, naturally their children must be engaging with them, their families must be engaging with them. Or naturally, the one who created something, we know what the benefits and harms are of it and how to best engage with it. So just want to go through a couple of examples that would help set the scene and get us a better understanding about technology. Without doubt, the new technological advancements that have taken place, they have brought about a lot of good, a lot of access, a lot of learning and development. But alongside anything that is good, there's also a lot of harms. And we know that there is probably an infinite amount of harms that can be found online and via technology. So going back to the root of it, so we look at an example. First one is Bill Gates. So we know Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft. Nearly all of us have used. Actually, all of us, I'm sure, have for sure used Microsoft within our lives, whether it's the packages or whether it's the Windows operating system. And it's been one of the biggest shapers of our life, since it became a household commodity of having laptops and computers. But when we look at Bill Gates, we know he was somebody who did not allow his children to have smartphones. Now, in 2007, it's going back obviously a while now, his children are a lot more old, he would actually implement a cap on screen time for his daughter, because he started to see there was an unhealthy attachment of video games. So he started to put a cap on that. Also, he didn't permit his children to get a smartphone until the age of 14. Yeah. Now, to understand that today, the average age of a child getting their first phone is 10 years old. And I think that age is getting younger and younger. I'm sure many of you here have seen children in the younger years, in the early years of primary, who have smartphones already. So you can see that this is a person who understands technology, understands all the advancements, but is also putting caps upon his own children in order to protect them from the harms of some of the things that he has created and put into play. The next kind of example we've got is that of Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs obviously has passed away, but this is the founder of Apple, the one who came about with all of these new products, the new iPads and the development of iPads. Now, he was someone in an interview that he gave back in 2011 with the New York Times. He mentioned specifically that he limits how much technology his kids use at home. And it was, in fact, even more important to understand, he's the one who created the iPad. He's the one who marketed it. He's the one pushing it out, saying how iPad is revolutionary, all the workplaces need it, all you in your personal life need it, all schools can benefit from it academically, and all of those things. Remember, they push out this whole narrative. But yet, he was the one who said, actually, we don't allow the iPad in our home. We think it's too dangerous for them. Yeah, it has a dangerous effect on them. So this is the person who, again, created these the iPad, and yet he's the one who's preventing his children from even using them. And moving forward, even you've got the Waldorf School, which is in Silicon Valley. As you know, Silicon Valley, America, is where all the tech companies exist. There in Silicon Valley is the most sought-after school for all of these tech giants. That all the kids go to Waldorf School. Now, Waldorf School, interestingly enough, you're going to think all the children of these tech giant companies go there. So they must be learning coding. They must be, really advanced because they're going to go into the tech world and start learning those things. But interestingly enough, one of the things you notice is the Waldorf of school is noticeably very low tech. So what they'd have is certain things in place. They ban electronic devices for all under 11s. They use even the chalkboard and the number 2 pencil in the classroom. So you might be thinking they're going to use smart screens and they all have laptops or iPads, but in fact they're using pencils and they've got chalkboards. And instead of learning how to code, children are taught soft skills such as cooperation and respect. A lot of things we're finding a problem with children these days, that they don't know how to interact with people, don't know how to show respect and all of these things. Now, this is a Waldorf school. This is where all of the tech giants send their children. So these are just a couple of examples for us to open our minds and start thinking, hang on a minute. When a lot of the time we talk about technology, parents will say, these are fantastic. These are advancements. They help my children learn, study, and all of these kind of things. But let's go again to the root of those who create them and see what do they do. The ones who create them know the harms of them, and they protect their families from them. Yet they push out to the consumer world, to children, to parents, to adults, to everywhere in order to make use of this technology. So hopefully that gives you an opening and sets the scene in terms of technology and what's happening. Now, the next thing is that there's a great impact that technology has on children. And what we said, there's a lot of positive learning that can take place, and we'll be focusing on some of the harms that do come from it. And one of them comes in is that the rate of depression increases within children who have, again, ample access to technology. So there was some American research that was done that found that 8th graders, so we're referring to those children who are in year 9, so you're looking at the 13 to 14-year-olds, that the risk of depression in them jumped 27% when they frequently use social media. So that frequent use, and remember, some of these studies are actually old studies, a good few years ago. A lot more new studies are coming up year upon year that show the impact. And truly, we will only understand the impact of technology when a whole generation life cycle has gone through. Then we will actually really understand it. But these are the initial researches that have come out that we're seeing that depression jumps 27% in young people, in 13 to 14-year-olds. Sometimes if we go back in our lives and we think when we were 13, 14, did we suffer from these kind of things? Yes, there might be difficulties in life, but our children are suffering a lot. Social media has made, for example, bullying not just a school-based issue, but it's something that comes into the home as well. It's no longer just confined to the school playgrounds or the gates, because why the continuation of that bullying taking place on the phone while they're in the home. So the child gets no freedom, no nothing. So again, and also living up to social expectations and norms, and to dress in a certain way, to look in a certain way, all of those things have a massive impact. Another piece of research that took place showed that about suicide, that kids who use the phones at least 3 hours a day are more likely to be suicidal. And the recent research, one second, and a recent research found that teen suicides rate in US now goes beyond that of the homicide rate, i.e. the murder rate. So there's greater number of teen suicides than there are murders in the US. And that is a lot of the studies showing primarily because of smartphones being the driving factor in suicide in teens. And lastly is the attention span. That screen time creates a shorter attention span in children. So a study by psychologists in Iowa State University found that kids who exceeded the recommended 2 hours per day of screen time were 1.5 to 2 times more likely to have attention span difficulties in the classroom. So you can see some of the harmful impacts technology does have that we don't see maybe on a day-to-day, but these are underlying issues that our children are going through: depression, suicide, and attention span. And if you speak to a lot of teachers within schools, they will corroborate this even. They will say how much more difficult it is for children to keep and maintain attention in classrooms, the amount of kind of depression and self-harming that has been on the rise, and again, can link back down to those who then look to eventually even take their own lives among children. So these are some of the real alarm bells that we should be aware of when it comes to children. I don't want to kind of scaremonger, make it like your child is now going to be suicidal and all of those things, but these are merely facts and information So you can take into consideration the impacts technology is having and seeing how we can protect and safeguard our children against that. Now onto the kind of segue in and talking a bit more about gaming specifically. Now, gaming is one of the biggest things that happen. Everything's got gamification. Every sort of kind of study and piece of work is now all gamified. And we know that gaming is, again, very, very big amongst our young people and our children. So I'm just going to go into a few different games just to raise awareness. And there's many, many, many games that exist, but just a few games, just so parents are aware of what our children may be playing and the potential harms that exist from it. So you can, inshallah, put some safeguarding measures in place for your children. So first one, as you can see on the screen, is Fortnite. So Fortnite is one of the more latest kind of games that teenagers have flocked to. You know, it offers this kind of knife edge game battle fighting skills, and it takes a lot of teamwork and fast reactions in order to basically win your game. The game is rated at 12. A lot of parents aren't aware of this, but you have children a lot younger who are basically playing this game because of its mild violence. But what happens with Fortnite is that, number one, it has the ability for your child to be able to talk to strangers. So the game has a voice chat feature within it. You can that your child can add or be added with anyone, and that means that possibly if any predators come in looking for children, they can find children. Additionally, foul language and other aspects basically can be easily accessed. Your child could be exposed to. Also, with the way Fortnite is, that it's a game that hasn't really got an end time. Like most games, you're going to say, okay, it's a 3-minute game. Fortnite isn't like that. It's until the battle finishes. And on average, a match can last 22 minutes. It can last longer, it can last shorter. So sometimes you might tell your child, oh, come on, it's time to turn it off. They're going to say, oh, I can't now, I've got to finish the game. There's only 20 people left, 10 people left, 5 people left, I've got to win the game. So what ends up happening is, because of these games, you go from one game to another, it can end up being this overload of screen time. And additionally, we've seen that children can get very angry and that loss of emotional control when they lose. Yeah, and losses can go into something, that can project a lot of anger and frustrations. And additionally, another key thing to be aware of is that within the app, you can buy a lot of in-app purchases. So children can buy, for example, skins and weapons. But the thing is, these are just cosmetics to make you look better. It does not make you any better in the game or give you an improved chance of winning. So they're just some of the things around Fortnite just to be aware of. But it's like, how can you mitigate these issues? What is it you can do in order to kind of protect your child from these? One is you can change the settings on the console to prevent any strangers adding your child. And you can disable voice chat. So this will help protect them from any sort of predators that exist online. Another thing would be is always important. Any sort of gaming should always be in a communal area. Avoid things in your child's bedroom. Keep them in communal areas. And then this way it will ensure the sound is activated on the device, the TV, so that you can hear what's being said. And if required for you to intervene, then you can intervene. Also, when your child adds any friends to their console, vet who they are. They might say, can I add so-and-so? Oh, who is this child? Or is it one from my class? Do you know them? Do you know their parents? This is another way of knowing which children your child is interacting with. Also, when you're playing these games in Fortnite, get them to take regular breaks. After a game, maybe get them to take a little break and then maybe get into the next one. Because if you're going from one match to another, you can easily take 3-4 hours because you just played very, very long matches. So take some breaks. That will also help them just to recalibrate and get into the real world again. And lastly is ensure that you remove any card or payment details that are saved on the console. That will prevent any accidental purchase of in-app purchases of skins and weapons. And again, talk to your child about the fact you really need these skins, these weapons, because it's not going to make you any better in any way or form. The next kind of game, I've only selected a few, is Call of Duty. So again, Call of Duty is a game that's based on soldiers. The rating is 18 due to violence, profanity, and blood. However, we know a lot of young children are accessing these things. Again, some of the harms, talking to strangers. Again, voice chat is enabled. They can add other people into the games. So to be very mindful of that, they can be exposed to predators and bad language, and also in-app purchases. So the advice given before in regards to Fortnite is the same. Control settings that you can remove that prevents any strangers adding them, and also disabling of the voice chat settings, and also ensuring no card details are on there. Roblox is another one that's rated at age 7. Now, this game, a lot of children have played, but however, there are some things that we should be fully aware of. First one is there are a lot of predators using third-party apps that can access it. So even when a parent has got controls and everything set on, things turn off, predators still have a way to communicate with children in Roblox. There's third-party apps that are made to designed to look like a game, but in fact, they're a backdoor to enter into your child and engage with them. Also, to look out for is there's avatars. Each of the games is built on these avatars that go around and building things. Some of these avatars are made to be sexualized. So there was one mother who noticed that her 6-year-old daughter was invited into a, forgive me to say, but it's called a sex room by a friend while playing Roblox. Now, all that happened is in that room, all these various Roblox characters were performing different sexual acts, and players were also exposed to other avatars and getting them to perform or do these other sort of demeaning or sexual acts. So these things can happen in a game that's, again, designed for 7-year-olds. Also, to be careful is of Roblox YouTube videos. A lot of children like to go into YouTube to check out the videos of how Roblox is played, and I like watching back other people. In some of these ones, they're also very adult because YouTube has a lot of these videos that go up that, again, show Roblox characters performing sexual content or violent content. And they sometimes use these cheat words so it avoids the algorithms that prevent the search and filters. So instead of SCX, they might write SHEX and words like that. So therefore, it evades the filters that are there on YouTube to prevent those things. And also kind of look out for any bypass audio. Sometimes there are some players sharing inappropriate content by using bypassed audios. So bypass are things like, swear words, they bypass things like swear words, racial slurs, kind of offensive songs and other kind of things that are kind of managed. They get basically bypassed. So these are some of the harms that exist. There's a lot more that you can go into, but I'm just giving you a very high level overview. How can you protect your children? Number one, check up on your children, children's games, even when they have even if you set up parental controls, check on what they're doing. Teach your child to leave the game right away and report to you if any strangers ask them or ask them to send pictures or anything like that. Make sure your parental controls are on the highest setting, especially for your younger children. And keep your kids close to you. Make sure that they're playing in a communal area. And if they're watching anything on YouTube, make sure you can see what they are watching as well. There's some of the ways to keep them safe. Lastly, I just talk about Discord. Now, Discord is important because Discord is effectively, it's a free app that can be used on mobile and PC, but it's chat via text, voice, or videos. It is effectively a chat room. Now, the Discord was initially set up for use of gamers, but a lot of people do use Discord now and then. But today, in order to just have conversations like these group chats that you can have, it's basically a chat room, is the easiest way to say it. It's rated 13 plus, but there's no age verification required, so children very young can just join Discord. There's many different Discord servers that do exist. A very specific focus is some could be on gaming, some could be on house renovation and these other things. However, some of these chats can also where you can have predators and other harmful and explicit content that could be there. So again, same thing for Discord. Make sure that they are only talking or added by anybody that you know that are their friends, and ensure that you know what they've been talking about, and have it in a communal area as well. Again, you're going to see the repeating theme. Most of these things should be in communal areas and not in privacy of anybody's bedroom or anybody's room. Now, moving on, next slide you're going to see here is in regards to basically some data that came out in 2009 by Pornhub, one of the leading porn websites that exist. Now, you're going to see here the traffic that came in via game console. Now, this traffic doesn't necessarily mean that it's just children accessing, because adults could be accessing it. But sometimes when we give a child a console, we think it's innocent, it's easy, they're just playing games. But we're not realizing that some of the traffic that came in via consoles, you can see how great it is. That, for example, like on game consoles, PlayStation was the highest amount of traffic that diverted into this website came from PlayStations. Then from Xbox, as you can see, 51.5% PlayStation, 34.7% from Xbox, PS Vita, the Nintendo Wii, and so on. And you see the change in traffic based on 2018 to 2019. This always doesn't show you the number of people that came via it. What we're showing is these consoles are accessing the porn websites. Now, if they're accessing it via the consoles, what that would usually allude to is children are accessing it, not necessarily adults. Because if adults are accessing this pornography, they could very easily do it from the smartphones or the other devices. So usually children are the ones who are mainly playing on these consoles. And that means via this console, they're actually accessing these websites and watching explicit content. So again, it's just more to make you aware that just because your child is with a console, don't feel that they're just safe and they're just playing a game. They can possibly be exposed to or even going on to accessing pornographic material via their console. So moving forward is we want to talk about laptops and tablets. Yeah, so different devices. So laptops and tablets, a lot of our children may have laptops and tablets. Key thing, firstly, with any sort of laptop and tablets, we have to ensure that internet filters. So whoever your internet provider is, from the router, you can set internet filters that ensure that they cannot access certain websites. So again, by default, you can put in certain keywords, you can put in certain filters on the high level so they prevent them from accessing pornography or other aspects, that they will not be able to access these things. So put the internet filters on. There are filters like Norton Family Filter. There's another added layer that can be put onto the laptop that gives you additional kind of filter and protection against that. It's a paid for service, but that's an example. The other ones are generally free from your internet provider. Number two, always keep your laptops and tablets in communal areas. Very vital. Sometimes it's difficult to do so due to space in the house and other things, but if you want to protect your children, keep things, if you allow them to take it into the privacy of their own room, this is where then I find most of the cases where children have had problems and parents have complained about children being problems, addicted to pornography and other things, is because of this whole thing of accessing things in the private sphere. In the communal sphere, there is now already apprehension to be able to access or see things because, again, other people are around. Number three, linked to this one, is what? Keep your bedroom tech free. That means no phones, no laptops, no tablets, no consoles. Bedroom should be a space for rest and recuperation. Yeah, the clothes are there, the bed is there, it's a place to rest. They may study there, it may be, but do your utmost to keep the bedroom tech free. And lastly is limit, if possible, completely take away no headphones. Have a policy where children don't wear headphones within the home, so therefore the content can be heard, because the moment you put headphones on, they can listen and hear things that could be lewd, that could be foul, that could be many things. And in this way, it's a way of protecting them from accidentally being exposed to certain bad things. So on the laptops, these are some of the advice I would give. Internet filters, ensure it's in communal areas, don't allow it into the bedroom, and no headphones where possible would be a means and a way that you can protect your children when they're using their laptops and the tablets. The next one I want to move on to is about smartphones. Now, smartphones is one of the biggest issues that we're having today, because everything's now gone crazy. Every single child wants a smartphone, has a smartphone. Children from very, very young ages are now having smartphones. So with smartphones, there are endless social media apps that are on there and is growing. And we have to be mindful what our children are watching, learning, the impact it has on their social skills and their self-esteem, on their values. So it's important that we are now aware of what exists. So for example, when we look at social media, there are some specific apps, that you're probably already aware of. And social media apps, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's, many of the Snapchat and many of these apps. But now what's happening, you have to understand what are the latest trends and what are the latest apps that our kids do like to use. So for example, some parents here may have Facebook. Now, Facebook is an app that is hardly used by children. Before it was, now it's actually very much used only by adults. But the most popular ones are Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. Now, I'm just going to go specifically to TikTok because TikTok is the one app, those who know me, I absolutely despise and I hate. Now, TikTok is an app that is rated 12 years old. However, children very young are accessing it. Yeah. Now, with TikTok, is your children can watch a never-ending stream of user-submitted videos. TikTok has dances and voiceovers that children can be exposed to adult material, profanity, those things of sexual nature, and it can be an easy gateway to pornography. Yeah, and it has an objectification and hypersexualization of girls. That girls feel like that they can only they have to be more explicit in what they show, in what they do, in order to get more likes and followers, and in order to get that kind of self-respect of attention and the shots of dopamine that they get from that. Yeah. Now, I guarantee you one thing: if your daughter is on TikTok, then just know this: very soon, if she hasn't already, she will start hating the way she looks. Because again, the hyper objectification of girls, they're the most at harm really on TikTok. And what happens is, what does TikTok teach children? That if you want to get likes, if you want to go viral, if you want to be famous, then you need to basically look and act like the way the girls do on TikTok videos. That means wearing less clothes, getting skinnier, not eating, and basically doing things of a provocative nature in order to get those likes and views. As some people have described it, they call it TikTok is like the Disneyland for pedophiles, because now you're having kids by 8, 9, even younger, who are wearing very little clothing and dancing in a very sexually provocative way. Pedophiles are loving it because why? It's free access for them to see these kind of videos, and you can see why it's called the Disneyland for pedophiles. And that's why you have to realize that that these predators that exist, this is their dream. Now, you think about it, like, I don't know, would any parent, I know, inshallah, we wouldn't normally dress our children in a certain way, but you would say this even to non-Muslims, that if your child, who is, say, 10 years old, a 10-year-old girl, was to wear, for example, just a bikini, i.e. the least amount of clothing, and then she danced in a provocative way in front of a group of creepy old men, for example, would you allow that? No one would. Again, non-Muslim, no one would. But yet what's happening is parents are allowing the children to do exactly the same thing on TikTok, and you have these same people who are perving and watching on children on TikTok. And so, most of the likes and the comments left on these kind of videos are actually by these grown men who are pedophiles, who are just basically enjoying all of this. Also, with TikTok, you have a lot of trends that come along that children try to basically mimic and then post their own versions of it. So some of them go beyond lip syncing with some songs that are quite bad, with F words and N words and P words and so on. But also, there's other trends that have started. I'll show you some examples of some trends that happened in the recent times. One of them was for a girl to walk in naked on their boyfriend while he is gaming and film the reaction. Yeah. Another one is talking about having intercourse with your stepbrother. It's thrilling because it's wrong. Yeah. Making fun of children who have autism. Getting your friends to jump and then two people knock their legs out from underneath. As they jump up, two people knock their legs out underneath, they fall back. There's been cases where children have cracked their skulls when they fell on the floor, and people have actually died from that. Watching, there's a movie called 365 on Netflix, which is sexual abuse and rape. And then they try to act those scenes out with their boyfriends and post videos of their bruises. These are some of the trends. And other things like driving through McDonald's and ordering a milkshake and asking the female cashier to basically show off her breasts, and these kind of degrading things are the kind of challenges that exist that are on TikTok. So I'm always mindful. I've written about this as well. It's available on my website, involvedfathers.com. There's a whole article that talks about TikTok. I've shared from other writers who have specifically spoken about TikTok. It's very, very dangerous. It's probably the worst social media app that exists today. And I always warn parents, stay away and keep your children away from TikTok. Also, as I said, on smartphones, there are a number of things that can happen. So people can do sexting. Yeah. So again, the same thing of basically communicating with other people, sending images and photos, and these things are happening. And there's a number of apps that exist. There's a number of apps that parents should be aware of. On the next slide, you can see it here. It talks about 15 apps. There's a lot more apps. On the next slide, when it goes across, you'll see there's 15 apps that parents should know about. There's Me Time, there's Grindr, there's SK Out, there's obviously WhatsApp, TikTok, and so on, Kick and Snapchat and Live Me and Ask FM. And there's many apps that all parents should be made aware of. Now, there's one called a calculator you can see right in the center bottom. There's this one, and there's many other variations of this calculator app. Now, what's most interesting about this calculator app, if your child has it on their smartphone, it works and functions just like a normal calculator. However, if the right kind of calculation or code is put in, then what happens is it unlocks a secret folder. And in that secret folder is where you can store whatever pictures and data and whatever you want there. And then you leave the app. Now, it's not going to be visible from your phone and from your photos, from anything on your phone. So if you as a parent go through it, you won't find anything. But if you open the calculator app, certain key code will then unlock this secret folder that will have all of these things in. The advancements, these are designed for people to keep secrets. They were designed for people to cheat. They're designed for children to keep secrets from the parents and get up to no good. So these things do exist on the phones. So it's very, very important that we are mindful of what our children are watching and doing. So what's the solution in regards to kind of smartphones? And the solutions that I have are hard, but this is something that I've practiced with my children, and it's something that I do encourage. The first one is no smartphones. Don't give your children a smartphone. That is the first one. Yeah, I don't give your child until they turn the age of 16. One of the most turbulent times is basically the school years, the secondary school years your child goes through. A lot of pressures, a lot of social pressures. Now, if you don't give your child a smartphone, like I've not given any of mine, they've gone through the school years, it's been tough, but they get adjusted to it, because while all the social pressures do exist, like, why don't you have a smartphone? You're the only one with that smartphone. Even teachers at schools have turned around and said, okay, kids, get your smartphone, get your phones out and visit this website. I've had my daughter turn around and say, I don't have a phone. So, these things do happen, but it's something we need to imbue within our children to protect them, and we need to explain it to them, we need to talk it with them why we're doing certain things. Now, don't give your child a smartphone until the age of 16. That is the recommendation I always give. And I use an analogy with smartphones to say that, a smartphone, imagine this. Would you give your child a bottle of alcohol, just say an infant, a bottle of alcohol to play with as a toy? So they're an infant, let's say they're 2 years old, 3 years old. You give them a bottle of alcohol and they play with it. No parent would do that. But a parent gives it, just say. Then, if you give a child something like this, which is harmful to play with, then the parent should not be surprised if somehow they manage to unscrew this bottle. And then they should not be further surprised if that child then starts to drink from that bottle. And furthermore, they shouldn't be surprised any further if your child then gets addicted to alcohol. They become an alcoholic. Now, no parent in the right mind will give this bottle of alcohol to a child, knowing the possible potential harms that can come from it. So as we know what the potential harms are from smartphones, why would we in our right mind want to give a child a smartphone? Because they are not ready for it. It is not age appropriate. So that's why I would say delay the smartphone until they're 16. If you need to provide a phone, as in for a means of contact, communication with the parent, due to maybe school being far away or a distance, then provide what we would call today a dumb phone. The old school Nokias, and those old phones that had no smartphone capabilities. You can text, you can call, you play snakes on them. Yeah. So give them one of those, so that way you can contact them, they can contact you for the needs of the safety and the security. The next stage is, if you must, for whatever reason, in the judgment you've taken, give your child a smartphone, if you must, then ensure their phone has no data. Number one. And so they can only be connected when they're on Wi-Fi. What that usually means is if they go to school and back, they can call and text, but then what happens is they come home and they connect to the Wi-Fi, and that's the only time they get access to the internet. So it limits the access to internet. Also, if you have given your child that phone, then when they come home, ensure the rules are in place that they turn the phone in when they come home. Yeah? And that the phone use is only for the travel period going and from school. That will be the next level. If for some reason you need to give them a bit more, then basically put a limit. Okay, when you come home, you can use your phone for 1 hour between this time and that time, and put a limit. And then say, okay, you have to hand it in at this point. And when you have those limits, ensure a few other things, that a phone is used in a communal area, that it should not be taken to the bedroom, that the phone should not be kept in overnight, that they should be handing it in when they go to sleep. Yeah. And these are the stages I would say. First, optimum stage, no phone until they're 16. The next one is we have to give them a phone due to security reasons, safety reasons, give them a dumb phone. If after that you feel you have to give them a smartphone, give them one without data. Then when they come home, get them to turn it in. If you want to give them some time to use it, give them limited time, then they hand it in, and that they should use it in communal areas, not take it to the bedroom and not keep it overnight. Now, if you want your child to get a better handle over phones and social media, you should also ensure that they are not installing any social media apps and they're staying away from it. And that you as a parent should basically model the best behavior. So that means when you ask your child to put their phone away, why don't you put yours away for that period of time? So they see it's a fair thing. So you model the behavior. And as I mentioned, ensure your children don't get social media until they are over the age of 16, because most of the apps aren't good. And because this turbulent time they go from the school years, it's easier and safer to protect your children from that until they are a bit more mature and a bit more stable in order to move forward with that. And that is what I would say is my recommendations in regards to children and smartphones. Now I'm going to move over just to a general summary of this presentation, which I would then conclude with that the advice and guidance that's been given by a lot of different institutions is that children under the age of 2 should have no screen time. So if you've got young toddlers, we should try to model this and practice this, that under the age of 2, the child should have no screen time. Is better for the development, because that way they can explore and learn. When a child watches these bright lights, they get dazzled, they become zombies sitting in front of the TV or the device. But this is the first 2 years of the crucial time for them to explore, to crawl, to get a feel of shape, and to do all of those things. We're delaying that development, their development, the natural child's development. So avoid the screen time, no screen time for the first 2 years. Then children aged between 3 to 5 should have no more than 1 hour screen time per day. Yeah. So keeping just to 1 hour screen time, it could be after they come from school, you give them a little bit, whatever it may be, just to get that limited. The next one is try and cut down, again, for children playing video games during school nights. So cut down the video games, especially on school nights. Ensure that there's probably no playing, so it only happens on the weekend. This will make it easier because it can have a big impact on their sleep and their mind during the week if they are playing. So cut it down. So ideally avoid it on school nights. Children under the age of 11, they should have no need for tablets or iPads. It's only really for those children who are a bit more older in schools and some of the work that they can do. But below that age, there's no need for it. Children under 16 should not be exposed to social media. So again, keeping that as much and as tight as possible will be the biggest safeguard for your children. While your child grows, educate them about the harms and benefits of social media. Without doubt, there are benefits, but explain to them the benefits and harms and why you are there to protect your children. The more you converse, the more you talk, the more you get their buy-in, the easier the process will be in order to move through in these stages. Children, remember, learn best through example, not by what you say. Yeah. So it's important that, again, you also practice these good behaviors. Keep technology out of the bedroom. As I said, that's a very important thing. All tech out of the bedroom. Again, try to have a no headphones rule in the house. That will help protect your children as much as possible. Check all of the privacy settings that are on your device that they're using, and ensure the internet filters are there. And my last advice is, for the sake of your children, I would always say ease off social media and cut down your usage in these years that they are growing up, because if you can get a control over them, you will model the positive behavior and the positive ways to engage with social media. If you're busy all the time on it, then your children are going to be understanding that actually this is the most important thing. And this is how you spend your time. In fact, put it down and converse with your children, because the greatest thing your child lives is presence. Your presence and your interactions They are more valuable than anything else in the child's life. When the children grow up into adult ages, they remember those interactions, those conversations more than any material things that they are given. And inshallah, that will conclude the session. Jazakumullahu khair. I'll pass it back over to Brother Shoaib.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Noor, for that. Really appreciate it. Let me just make sure I get my camera turned back on. So parents, there you go. Alhamdulillah, we've managed to give you, alhamdulillah, actually Brother Noor's managed to give you a really good insight into being safe online and keeping your children safe as well. Now, what I just want to move on to in the last few minutes of this before we give you a chance to ask some questions is to give you some halal alternatives that Muslim Kids TV wants to provide you. If you've gone through that presentation thinking that, well, how am I going to ever get my children away from all these dangers, and how can I give them some sort of halal alternative, then that's exactly what I want to share with you now, inshallah. And before I show you that, I just want you guys to, those of you who are joining us on the Zoom, I want you to comment down into the box an answer to a few of these questions. So a very quick poll, okay? So one is, are you worried about the effects of prolonged screen usage on your children? So you just need to write down yes or no into the chat box, okay? Are you worried about the effects of prolonged screen usage on your children? That's one thing, yes or no. I'm going to read a few of them out, and whichever one you resonate with, you can write yes or no into there. Are you worried about the opposing values in children's shows? So for example, you may have Islamic values, and there may be other shows out there that have opposing values. Are you worried about those opposing values being shown to your children, yes or no? A third quick poll question, are you worried that your children may get addicted to non-beneficial content? So if they're seeing certain cartoons or certain shows, they feel like they'll be addicted to those and they won't want to watch anything maybe of benefit. Are you worried about that? Yes or no? Another question to think about and to just let me know yes or no. Are you worried about inappropriate adverts when your children have a device? So if you give them a device to get along with something, maybe to play a game, maybe to watch something, are you worried about inappropriate adverts? So those, and the last thing is, do you feel guilty that you could be spending more time maybe learning with your child, educating your child, but instead you're giving them some screen time? Do you kind of get that guilt? So if you, in the chat box, if you've answered yes to any of those things, inshallah, let me just quickly check on the chat box here. So I'm seeing a lot of yeses over here. So the fact that you've answered yes to some of those things, it means that inshallah, what I'm going to just show you quickly now is going to be of great and really big benefit to all of you. So I'm just going to share my screen, inshallah. Just bear with me a second so I can get this loaded up for all of you. All right. Okay, so Bismillah. Here's what we have, which is the Muslim Kids TV platform. So what I've done is I've logged into MuslimkidsTV, and I'm going to give you guys a chance all to log into this as well after I've shown you how the platform really works. So if you have ever used in your household anything similar, so if you've used Netflix, if you have used Disney Plus, if you have used Amazon Prime, it works exactly like that. The interface is very similar. So I'm going to scroll down here and you're going to see very similar to those interfaces. I can scroll across and I can find the videos that are trending at the moment. I can go down further and I can find any new videos that have been uploaded to Muslim Kids TV. I can also see any new shows. And on top of that, I can also see any new ebooks that have been uploaded recently, any movies that are currently trending, and also any games that are the latest games that have been uploaded, or even some of the most popular games here. So I'm going to dive into each of these things a little bit so you get a better idea about Muslim Kids TV. So if I dive into where it says videos, just click on videos. And as you can see here, the videos are split between early years, kids, and tweens. So early years would be ages 2 to 5. Because as we know, below 2, like Noor said, there shouldn't be screen time. Kids is between ages 6 to 9, and tweens is between ages 10 to 12. You may not have heard this term of tweens, but it does exist. It's for that kind of transition between kid and teenager. So you're looking at content that is halal, that is curated specifically for 2 to 12-year-olds. And if I just click on this tab here that says all shows, what I'm going to show you as I'm slowly scrolling is you're going to see the thumbnails for all the different shows that your children could watch. And you'll notice here that some of these are Islamic, right? They're going to speak about things that are specifically to do with Islam, whether that's Quran, whether that's Arabic, whether that's Seerah. But you're also going to see here just general entertaining content. It's going to be about DIY, it's going to be about science, it's going to be about just some animal shows, it's going to be about different cartoons and animations. So here you're going to see a combination between Islamic content and fun, just entertaining content as well for different age ranges. And all of these have been vetted to ensure that they are ethical, they are halal, they don't show any inappropriate values to your children. I'm just going to go over to the games tab now. So as Noor was saying, a big part of his presentation was dedicated towards gaming. So are there any halal alternatives to gaming for our children? So here we have games that have been created by the Muslim Kids TV team that are all loaded into this app, which means you don't have to download separate games. You can find many games just within this app. There won't be any adverts in these games. And you can find them either under young children, educational, just for fun, or strategy. And again, these can be appropriate from very young children all the way up to 12-year-olds. And similar to what I've said about the videos, you can see here that the games here are similar to, in terms of some are Islamic and some are just entertaining games for your children. So some may be related to the video series. Maybe you're watching a video series about the Quran or about Arabic, and you may be able to find a game that relates to that. Or you just want to give your kids this device and you want to let them have fun, color something in, do a bit of a puzzle, and there are games that are related to that as well. Next, I'm just going to show you the ebook section. So again, the ebook section is split into early years, kids and tweens. And as you can see here, there are many different types and topics. So here I have languages, here I have printables. So this means that you could connect this to a printer, you could print out some workbooks, some worksheets, and you can let your kids get along with that. You have topics like love of Allah, the world, environment, science, healthy habits. So there are many different ebooks that are in here as well. So it's not just videos and games for your children to play, but they can actually read things on here too. And some of these ebooks also come with audio features too, so like an audiobook. So these are the three main pieces of content on the Muslim Kids TV app. You have videos, you have games, and you have ebooks. And in all of that, you can easily just use a search bar if you want to find something. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to quickly type into the chat box. The first one I see is the one I'm going to use, is a topic that you'd want to teach your children. So I can show you exactly how this search bar works. So I'm just going to open up the chat here. Somebody said Tawheed, very quick. Abu, maybe I won't say your name, you don't want your name to be read out. So I'll type in here, Tawheed. So now you can see I've typed in Tawheed and it's showing me books that are related to Tawheed. It's showing me a video series related to Tawheed. It's showing me games related to Tawheed. So I could do this for any topic, whether it's Islamic or it's not Islamic. And I could find a game, an ebook, and a video related to the topic that you asked for. And I just took the one that you asked for in the group chat. So that means, you know, it's easy. Anybody could think of a topic that they want to find. Reason being is there's 15,000 pieces of content here across the ebooks, the games, and the videos that relate to the topics that you want to search for. Now I want to show you two additional features before I come over to your Q&As, okay? So the first additional feature is a Quran. So within the Muslim Kids TV app, you don't even have to download a separate Quran app. You can let your children read Quran from here. You can let them listen to Quran from here. And you can even let them record their own Quran recitation, which then they can share that to friends and family. Also, you can keep a track of their progress by clicking on My Stats. So here it will show you how long your child has spent reading the Quran, and it will show you a log of which surahs they've memorized. And a lot of parents ask, do I need a separate account for different children? Well, one account that you sign up with will give you access to 3 different children accounts. So you can make sure that in terms of this tracking of Quran and what they've memorized, that can be across 3 different children with by purchasing just one account. The last thing I want to show you is the Create Your Comic. So this is a comic book creator tool. So this can really aid in your child's imagination and their learning. So I'm just going to quickly show you how it works. I've got a blank page here. I'm going to add a background. So for example, I'm in a shop and let's see, this is me, let's say, okay? And I'm running through the shop. I'm just going to make myself a bit bigger. I look very tiny. And I'm really trying to find something my wife has told me to find. And I can add some text on here and I could make a very creative comic book. So these are some of the tools and that Muslim Kids TV app offers. And as you can see here, like I asked you, when I asked you to say yes or no about these various questions, this should have clarified some of those things for you. If you felt worried about those particular things I mentioned, this is the way to kind of get over those worries, because you've got content here, you've got games here, you've got books here, that are all halal, that are verified, and that are good for your children to use. So how does this work? What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a QR code that you can scan that can let you register for this. In terms of registration, it's only £8 per month to use this. So that's in line with all of the different types of, streaming services that you might already be using in your household, or you could even sign up for £80 for the year. So that means you get 2 months for free, essentially. So I'm just going to pull up that QR code for you guys. And let me just find it for you. Here we go. So if you want to get access to Muslim Kids TV app, you just need to scan this QR code that's on your screen now, and that will take you straight to the page. It will open up on your browser where you can just put in your email address and go through the steps where it asks you to create your password so you can create an account. It will ask you to put your card details in, but guess what? It won't charge you for 14 days. Why? Because we want you to have enough confidence in the product. So we're giving you 14 days to try out for free. So you put your card details in, but it won't charge you for 2 weeks. So you can try it out. That means you scan it now, try it out, see if you like it. You can access that on your website, as in like through a laptop, a desktop. You can access it as an app through the Play Store or through the App Store. So whether that's Apple, whether that's Android, you can get that on a tablet, you can get that on a phone. You can even access it through Smart TV. And something I didn't even show you, which is our live TV function. So there was a tab there called Live TV. If I click that, then I would be able, it would just show a 24/7 live stream of the various content that's within Muslim Kids TV according to the age range that you pick. So that means if you do want to show your children TV or maybe your big TV that you have at home, but you don't want them to watch the typical cartoons or shows that are out there, you could just pull up Muslim Kids TV through your smart home application and leave it on the live TV tab, and it will be playing that. So that's what I wanted to show you as a halal alternative. What we're going to do now is just go over, inshallah, to your Q&As. I'll leave this QR code up here while we're doing Q&A with Brother Noor. And if you have any questions for me in terms of the Muslim Kids TV application, and, whilst you're asking those questions, this QR code will be here so you can scan it. You can go through that process that you need to be able to download the app, inshallah. So yeah, let's just open it up for some questions. We'll go through the chat box, but if you want to speak, you can speak as well, inshallah. Okay, so we have got one question here, which is who curates the content? So I'm guessing you're speaking about the Muslim Kids TV app. So Muslim Kids TV themselves, they have a production house, so they create a lot of the content, but also they acquire the content from other production houses in the world, whether that's in Australia, that's in Malaysia, that's in the UK, and they vet all of that to make sure that it's ethical. Another question we had is, how much is the app after the free trial? So it's only £8 per month, or £7.99 to be exact. If you do it monthly, if you do it yearly, then it is £79.99 or £80. Another question we had is there music in the app? So some of the content does have music. This is more to do with the content that is the general cartoons and entertainment. So some of these cartoons and entertainment, they're sort of just very, you could say general things. They're not created by Muslims, or they're not related to any sort of religious values. They're just good content. Some of those will have music in it. However, the majority of whatever's in the app doesn't have music, especially the Islamic content. And what you can do is there's a feature within the app where you can hide anything that has music. So you don't want any music in your household, just click hide any shows with music, and that will mean that those things will not come up, and you don't have to be afraid that your children will click on something that does have music in it. And still, majority of the library will be available without music to you. I'm just looking through. Are we able to access it on any types of TV? Yeah, so if your TV has a smart function, right? So you can download apps into your TV, then you should be able to get MuslimkidsTV onto there. If it doesn't have that option, then you may need to purchase like a device, like a Roku or a Google Chromecast. These things allow you to then access those types of apps if your TV isn't a smart TV. When did it launch and how long has it been running? MuslimkidsTV has been running for a number of years now. I believe it launched in 2017, 2018. And so it's been running for, mashallah, quite a while. The company that is behind this actually has been running for much, much longer. They've been, before they had the app, they were a production house creating ethical Islamic content for children for a very long time. There's a lot of questions on MuslimkidsTV. If anybody's got any questions on online safety for Brother Noor, you know, he's getting bored there. He's nodding off, so give him some questions, inshallah. I'm just going to check. We were streaming this on Facebook just to allow people who didn't register in time to join us. So I'm going to see if they've got any questions there as well. I tried to manage the age difference in TV, but I couldn't find it. Is it only on the MuslimkidsTV app? I'm not sure, sister, if you have, or if this is sister or brother, I'm not sure. If you have got MuslimkidsTV and you're finding some technical issues, then please just email us. So you can just go to our website in the contact section, and just, or you can message us on social media as well, on Instagram or on Facebook. We'll pick that up and we'll sort you out, inshallah. So email would be info@muslimkids.tv, or you could just direct message us. Oh, and look, one of our admins has actually sent in a tutorial for you to click on as well, alhamdulillah. Is the education content structured somehow to national curriculum, or is it just generally age appropriate? Yeah, that's right. It's just generally age appropriate. Because this is a global app, it's not specific to one type of national curriculum. It is just appropriate for the particular age groups. But you could definitely, if you had, for example, you're a homeschooling parent and you want to follow the national curriculum, let's say, you could look at the standards for the national curriculum and then go through the resources that are in MuslimkidsTV and just try to match things up. That could be easily done as well. Right, I'm just going to check if there's anything on Facebook. On Facebook, somebody's asked, are there any educational games? Yes, there are lots of educational games on there across various different topics, whether that's numbers, that's reading, that's writing, that's the pillars of Islam, that's Arabic, that's Quran, lots of educational things there. Okay. So yeah, like I said, if there's not any other questions, the QR code is there. You can just scan that, and that will allow you to access Muslim Kids TV. Maybe some of you are accessing this through your phone, so it might be hard to scan the QR code. What you could do then is I will see if I can send in a link to the chat. Another question. Maybe if one of our admins, if there's the link that I sent earlier to our team member Huda, I sent it to her. That same link, if we can just post it into the chat, that'll be quite helpful for anybody who can't scan the QR code. Just answering a few more questions. By the way, if you have some questions for Noor about online safety, definitely do still send those in. Are there any educational games? Yes, that's something I have mentioned. There are many. I've missed the Q&A bit. How do you manage the peer pressure as a parent? Okay, Noor, if you're still there, that's one for you. How do you manage that peer pressure?
There isn't any kind of fast and hard rule in dealing with peer pressure. The biggest thing that you can do as a parent with your child is communication with your child. So what you need to be doing is, one is understanding what are the pressures that your child is facing. And the way you're going to do that is twofold. One is kind of learning about the terrain, what are the different difficulties that children and young people are facing at that age. The secondly is also conversing with your child. And what you will find is most things that you want to apply in your child's life, whether it's boundaries or rules or values, the easiest way you're going to be able to get them to cooperate is by having their buy-in. So similarly, when you're dealing with these issues, it's about communication with your child, speaking with them, understanding and listening to understand. That means truly showing empathy for the situation and the difficulty that they're in. So the first one is always around communication, how we talk, how we listen. That's key. In terms of dealing with peer pressure, a lot of them is that the peer pressure will usually you're looking at what does it push them to. Most of the time, it's push them to negative things. Then your child needs to have an understanding of what is their values, what are the boundaries. So it's about instilling the values within your children. So from a young age, speaking with them to say, okay, these are the values that we have within our homes, having a buy-in with them. I discussed this actually within the course I deliver, the 3 T's of Islamic Parenting, which can be accessible from involvedfathers.com. But in there, we talk about how you create family values and how you basically get your children to buy into those family values. And then that becomes the model with which you govern your house and your children are raised upon. And when you have their buy-in to the values, then what that means is when anything comes to challenge those values, your children are more understanding and more willing to stick to those boundaries than just to cave in. If we dictate to a child, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not allowed this, you're not allowed that, then they will only obey you in your presence and disobey you in your absence. So we want to get their buy-in. So the long-term thing is actually a long piece of work, but it's about building their buy-in, getting the understanding of what are the family values that you want to set in your family, getting them to understand it. There's some pertinent questions that we can ask our children, and then you're able to basically form a set of family values, and then you continue to remind them, you have them up on your wall, you continue to discuss them, and you continue to live those values. And if you live those values, that will be what is the biggest thing that will help protect the children against the peer pressure, meaning that's the initial fortress that's from your child. The second stage is once you build those values, is that continued communication, speaking with the children, getting to know them, speaking and conversing, understanding what's happening in their day, what the difficulties that they're going through, and just letting them express their frustrations, their difficulties, and listening to them, and then working with them to find solutions to the problems that they're facing. And they become the way. So there isn't a hard and fast rule, do this one thing, it's going to work. It takes effort and time from the parents part, but instilling the values, having a mutual buy-in to the values, and having the mutual buy-in to the values, living those values, and having that constant communication. And these are the ways that you can help protect the children against the peer pressure. Yeah, so I can see a follow-up question here. It says, you mentioned about having family values on the wall. Do you have a list of family values or a template you use? So I have a list on my wall of family values that we created together as a family. We then put it up into a nice canvas. I got it printed. It's on the wall. Now, those values are what you live your family by, and it's been brought in by the children. So there are a set of questions you can ask them to explore what are the possible values that we see in our family. For example, what kind of family do you want us to be? Who are the people that we look up to as heroes? And all of these kind of similar questions you can set those questions, get answers to, and then they go about in a way to form those values for you and your family, and just mutually agreeable that we all agree to these values. The values acts as a constitution, acts as a way of saying this is acceptable in a family, this isn't. Because, for example, as a parent, when your child asks you, can I do something? Can I go somewhere? Can I do X, Y, Z? You say yes or no, based usually on a value choice. So, example, your value here is, can I go out and visit my friends? You're looking at it, he goes, it's 10 o'clock at night. Of course, you're not going to go out. So there's a value that you might have there within yourself, or a rule to say that my children are not allowed to go out at nighttime. Why? Because it goes back to something about safety and security and all of those things. So those things go back. So it's important that you realize that everything that you're saying yes or no to actually go back into the root and essence of the value. Now, all of the values we have as parents, they come from divine values, meaning they're based on whatever Allah has agreed, what Allah has sent down to us, and what we understand is what is right and what is wrong. And that's what you're trying to build within your family. Okay, there's follow-on questions.
Yeah, there's a few follow-ups there, yeah.
Sometimes some specific things come up, like kids their age all have a phone. This is a difficult one, I'm not going to lie. Even I have struggled with that, but it's continuing to remind your children. A lot of that is communications. Understand, why do you need a phone? What's the benefit of the phone? What's the harm of the phone? But also, one of the things I found that work with my children is they know that it's not that they will never get a phone. They'll get it when they're 16. They'll get it. And we talk about it, give them certain support around that. But it's communication and conversation that help them through that. What to do if one parent is more involved in conscious and positive parenting and the other is not that involved? How do we deal with that? Well, it means that you need to sit down as parents together, both husband and wife, and you need to discuss what kind of family do you want. So, and what kind of parenting style do you want to do? You have to talk to one another. And I think once you talk to one another, try to create those framework to say, okay, like, this is what is acceptable, this is what isn't acceptable, this is what we're going to do, this is not what we're going to do. But the only way you're going to get the other parent around is if both of you have a candid conversation to say, what kind of family do we want to raise? What kind of family values do we want to impart on our children? What are the rules? What are the limits of acceptability and non-acceptability within our children? Is having those discussions. And we can take it a step at a time. If it's the first one that one parent is always very angry and the other one isn't, and maybe they lash out on and so on, then a lot that we discuss and say, look, when the children say something, you might get wound up. Okay, how can we ensure we're screaming less? We're doing it less? Because anybody has a conversation when we are all calm and level-headed, we'll agree that we don't want to be shouting at our children. We don't want to be losing the plot. How is it that we can help one another to remedy those situations? So a lot of it is having the communication and dealing with one aspect at a time on that journey to get you both onto the same page of parenting.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Looking through, I don't think we have many other parents, many other questions left on here. So I think with that being said, everybody can sort of take away from here all of the lessons that have been learnt, inshallah, when it comes to internet safety, online safety, just remembering some of those key things that Noor mentioned in his presentation in terms of, ensuring that the filters are enabled, ensuring that there are certain rules in the household about smartphone usage, ensuring that parents are aware about the different apps and the different features within games and games consoles and other softwares as well, and being careful about the social media usage that our children will be facing. And all those things our children are going to be facing, a lot of that, the gaming, the social media usage, throughout this summer, given that they're not going to be at school. So all the more important to make sure that you share all this information that you've learned from the webinar to other parents in your own family, in your own circles. And like we've also mentioned, that there is an halal alternative, which is MuslimkidsTV. It gives you the games, it gives you the videos, it gives you the ebooks, it gives you the Quran, it gives you the comic book creator for all those things that you're worried about, that you feel guilty about. You feel guilty that your children are watching certain things, you feel guilty that there's opposing values, you feel guilty that they're not being educated. Well, that removes all of that guilt. So you can get that app, try it out for 14 days, inshallah. And then it's only a few pounds a month after that. So Jazakallah khair for everybody who joined. Hopefully this has been very beneficial for you to get that knowledge, for you to find out some solutions, some halal alternatives. Make sure that you do maybe even take a screenshot of this QR code, you share that around, and you do make sure that you also take a look at Noor's page, which is Involved Fathers. So you can find that on all the social media and on his website, Involved Fathers, and you can find out more about the type of work that he does. So thanks everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it. For everybody on Zoom, everybody on Facebook, and inshallah, we'll catch you in the next Muslim Kids TV webinar. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.